I have sold millions of dollars worth of high ticket programs and sold that same business for 7 figures. And I've traced it all back to 4 things almost nobody in the space has figured out yet. And these 4 things will determine whether your high ticket offer scales up to the moon 7 figures or completely crashes and burns. So let's get into those 4 things right now.
What's the first thing I need to think about to sell a bunch of these?
Yeah, so this is the single point of leverage that will make the biggest difference in your business. What we're going to talk about right now. All right. Get this wrong, you end up wasting a bunch of time and money, versus you get this one decision right and you have the potential for your program to make millions of dollars. Okay. And this is making sure that you have the offer that you put out in the marketplace engineered in the right way. So let me break down exactly what I mean by this. Okay. Most people, they put together a high ticket offer and they think it's irresistible, but it's absolutely not. It's more of what we call kind of like a meh offer. Like, that sounds kind of interesting. I'll get back to you. And then they ditch you, right? Customers ditch you or prospects ditch you, versus an offer that puts out in the marketplace where it's like, oh my God, when someone hears this, like, I need this absolutely now. So how do you know whether or not you have an offer that's kind of like, that's kind of interesting, and maybe you sell a few different versions of it, right? A little bit, but you have to work really hard, versus one where people are like, take my credit card immediately. Yes, hell yes, say no more. There's a metric that you can look at. The first metric is most high ticket programs sell at about a 20% clip. Those are because they have met offers. It's really difficult to sell them, versus the top offers in the marketplace that are engineered the right way. Those end up closing at between 50 and 60%. Okay. So when you're putting together your offer, if you currently have an offer, if you're seeing their metrics that are closer to 20%, 30%, whatever, you got a lot more work to do. Okay. Now, a lot of times people think they can solve this by becoming better salespeople. Now, yes, it is true. You will increase your conversion rate the better you are at sales, but doubling your sales skills isn't necessarily going to get you the difference between 20 and a 50 to 60% close rate. Most of this is done in the actual offer that you engineer and put out in the marketplace.
What are the downstream effects of that? Yeah,
so what people will do, and they're like, oh, whatever, man, I'll just kind of slap together this offer. But what ends up happening is, first and foremost, it's the difference between, like, for the same amount of ad spend, the same amount of traffic, making 3 times more money. So that in itself is like a massive leverage point, right? But there's all kinds of other downstream effects that happen as well. So for example, you have lower cost per lead. And when you have lower cost per lead, what happens? You make more profit overall in the business, right? You have increased show up rates, which means that you end up closing more of the people who are on your phone, make your salespeople happier, right? They stay longer. You have to spend less money keeping the people that you actually have because they're making a bunch of money. You don't have to constantly be churning through new salespeople, recruiting people, which costs time and energy, right? And more importantly, you're going to get more referrals inside the business. And so like I mentioned on this particular slide, right, the downstream effects of how this actually affects the business, just the offer, okay, is the difference between a 5 and 6 figure business that you have to work your freaking tail off versus an offer that's truly outstanding. This is how you scale to the 7 or 8 figures. So again, like I mentioned in this slide right here, the right offer is the highest leverage move that you have inside your business.
So this will obviously grow your business. How do you actually build out the offer?
Yeah. Okay. We hear this concept of, hey man, just put out this irresistible offer, make it so people will say hell yeah, right? But how do you actually do that? Well, I like numbers. I like to be able to say, hey, you know what? If I do these specific things, this is going to get me the result, as opposed to this sort of like nebulous kind of vibey, feely thing, which is what most marketers do, and it's difficult to implement. So what I've found is if you write down 7 dream results that people want, okay. So if your clients would get these exact results, they'd be like, oh my God, my life will change forever. Write those down. What can you actually do to help your clients get that? Okay. And that's the first thing you're going to actually have inside your program. The systems to help them get these 7 dream results. And then you add on 7 nightmare problems that your program will eliminate for them. Frustrations, stressors, whatever it is, right? And you have these 14 together and you say, hey, this is everything we're going to do for you inside the program. This goes from a meh offer, like, yeah, kind of, sort of, some people occasionally buy, to like, oh my God, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Nothing else in the marketplace is like this. Shut up and take my money right now.
So you have the 14 points or more. How do you move them closer to the sale?
Okay, cool. So this in itself is going to take your kind of like D or maybe F offer to like a B plus offer. This is the next leverage point you want to have, okay? And that's adding a specific time frame or a deadline that you're going to help them get results, okay? So if you're like, hey, we're going to get you to, lose weight and not have to deal with these problems, okay, that's a maybe someday type offer. But if you say, not only are you going to lose weight, but we're going to get you to lose 15 pounds of fat, we're going to help you put on 15 pounds of muscle, and we're going to do it in 6 months or less. That right there, the specific time frame is a massive attractor to get people to say yes to your offer. And that, again, is one of those differences between like met offers and offers that just absolutely sell like hotcakes when you're putting it out there.
The time frame makes sense, but psychologically, why does that work?
Okay, think about it like this, all right? So none of us like fear or pain, right? It creates this anxiety feeling in us, right? But what we fear the most is pain that never ends, okay? So think about it like this, right? Like none of us want to get a shot, but we know that in our mind, like, hey, this is going to be like 20 seconds at most, and then it's done. Versus let's pretend that you're going to get a shot, and they're like, this is going to sting. We don't know how long. It could be anywhere between like your whole lifetime and 2 years, or it could be 5 minutes. We have no idea, right? You'd be very nervous. Hey, hang on. Don't put that on my arm, right? Like, but that specific time frame lowers the anxiety for people, okay? So once you attach a time frame, the problem itself gets an expiration date, and that lowers people's anxiety. And that's one of the biggest hacks you can do from a persuasion perspective is lower people's overall anxiety. And again, putting a time frame in there is one of the best, most leverageable moves you can do to make that happen.
So it's like the most boring class in high school, but you know exactly when it ends, so that's something to look forward to.
Yes, perfect example.
Perfect sense. How did you do this in your business?
Okay. So what a lot of people will do, here's an example. So I had a music education business, right? So we could put out an offer. We could say, learn to play piano and you'll achieve these skills. And that would be attractive enough to the marketplace. But are we going to get the 50, 60% hyper scalable close rates we talked about? Not exactly. But what we did is we put out an offer like this. You get to play your first live gig. So that in itself is a very specific transformation we knew our marketplace wanted. But the kicker was in 12 months or less. Okay? Because think about this. There's a certain amount of pain that happens, a certain amount of anxiety that happens. You have to learn all these new skills, make all these life transformations to get results, right? Am I going to have to do this for 30 years? Oh man, what about all the stress that's involved? But when you say, hey, we're only going to help you achieve this great result that you want, but it's only going to take you a year or less to do it. That feels so much better, right? It lowers the anxiety and makes it feel very easy for people of like, okay, this isn't going to be as stressful as I thought it was. Hell yeah. And this is the difference between offers that can sell for like $300 to $1,000 in the marketplace versus one where you can get, 5 or 6 figures for the same type of offer just by putting a specific result and an actual time frame in which you will get those results for them.
What you said about the time frame makes perfect sense, but what do most marketers get wrong about this?
This is huge. All right. Most marketers will work very hard on their funnel and, making sure that their ads sparkle and that they're making these big, massive claims. So they'll spend 40 hours on the funnel ads, making sure that the marketing absolutely shines. But then they'll spend like 40 seconds, or in this case, like 40 minutes, very disproportionate amount of time, making sure they figure out how to actually deliver the results of the promise that they've just made. And this creates horrible, horrible, horrible business conditions. You're going to see like massive downstream problems later, okay? Basically what it does is it creates a broken business because they don't put enough time figuring out how to actually get people the results that they've promised.
Can you give me an example of how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So there's this very interesting number, and I wish more people actually knew this, okay? It costs 5 to 25 times more to acquire a new customer versus the same amount of time, energy, and capital to keep an existing one, okay? And so the easiest money you'll ever make comes from getting clients results inside the thing that you've sold them and getting them to buy again, okay? And so look at this number right here. 500 to 25,000 times higher. Look at that leverage there, right? This is how you actually make a crap ton of money inside the business. You get your program to actually get people the results that you promise them.
What does it actually look like in terms of sales?
So think about it like this, okay? Everything comes from this one question. Did they get the results that you promised them? Okay. Easier to resell, right? Less time and money, more profit. They're going to refer other people. They stay longer. And again, they buy more and more stuff. Okay. When you fix that, you say, hey, we're going to make this big, awesome transformation promise that we talked about, and we're actually going to help them do that. Everything else downstream in your business gets way easier as a result of that.
So now that the offer is very clear, how do you build out the program to get them the results?
Okay. So we start with the end result and we reverse engineer every step along the way. What do they need to do in order to accomplish that? And then, more importantly, you also build an accountability for every stuck point along the way. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Okay. So we have this piano program. We'll use the one we talked about in the very beginning. Okay. So we said that they're going to be playing gigs or gig ready within 12 months. Okay. Well, what you keep asking yourself, like, what do they need to do this? What do they need to do this? Okay. So for example, to play gigs, you need to know songs. Okay. Well, how many songs? 12 songs. Great. All right. What are the sub skills that they need to be able to do to play 12 songs, right? What are the monthly milestones they need to do? Break it down even further. What are the weekly milestones they need to do? What's the weekly plan or even the daily plan to help them get that? Okay. So everything is built backward from the end result that you promise.
So you built out the program from the end result to the first point. What do you do when you actually launch the program?
Okay. So at this point, we've got this irresistible offer. People are saying, hell yeah, on the phone. You're getting people some great initial results. But inevitably, because you're dealing with other human beings, you can't keep everything in your head. You're going to have some people who are going to get a little bit stuck in the early stages, okay? You're going to have missed a few things you didn't even think about because, again, you're dealing with other people here, right? And what a lot of people do here is they're like, oh man, I worked really hard in engineering the program and working out this plan. I don't want to put any more energy in this, right? I don't want to fix my program at this point. Man, I have to keep working hard. I might have to do a couple one-on-one calls in the first few months with these clients or create these additional assets I didn't think about, like, more work, right? Horrible, wrong attitude. Your first clients are not only paying you money, but they're actually doing free product development for you as well, okay? So where they're getting stuck, okay, every place they get stuck shows you exactly where you need to build better systems inside your program, okay? So cool. You may have to do a couple one-on-one calls with those clients that you weren't initially planning on, right? Or build out some additional assets. It feels unscalable in the beginning, but don't worry, my friends. We're going to turn all those fixes that you're doing into systems, okay? So you can record the Zoom call that you do with a one-on-one client. You can feed it into Claude or whatever AI program you want and build out, for example, some SOPs to help them accomplish it, right? Maybe you need to add another call in between in their customer service manager, anything to do along the way because you didn't realize that gap was there. But when you take it out into the marketplace and we do this at scale, this is going to help even more of your customers get those transformations. So in the very beginning, yeah, you know what? You might have to have a little bit of pain in there as you're doing a sort of a second version of your program. You thought you were done in the very beginning, but trust me, this couple months of pain in the very beginning is going to make your offer an absolute premium offer, and that's going to get you a ton more business later on because people will renew and they're going to refer others as well. So very much worth it to go through that initial version 2 pain through the first couple months.
So having this great program is amazing, but how do you stand out in the marketplace when there's other similar programs?
So there's a ton of ways to do that. We will talk about that more in future videos, but I want to give you one gold nugget right here. This is something that I call fame adjacent coaching. All right. So here's what happens when you start scaling up your program a little bit. You're saying, okay, I'm getting busier and busier. I can no longer do the fulfillment. I'm the owner of the company, whatever it is. You no longer want to be in fulfillment. And so what most people do, and this is the big mistake, is they say, listen, I'm going to get juniors, people who are less skilled, because I can get them cheaper to actually do the fulfillment inside the program. Big mistake. Not only is it harder to sell, but you're not going to get people as good of results because you have less people actually coaching inside your program and helping your clients get results. What you want to do instead is what I call fame adjacent coaching. Okay. And these are coaches that are 1 degree away from celebrities or major names. Okay. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by this. All right. So if we're inside our program and we want to help people gig, wouldn't it be exciting if they got, let's say, Aretha Franklin's piano player to coach them through the program? So not only will that sell better on the phone, but you have this master who's actually done these incredible things in music or inside whatever program you have, delivering their training through the actual program itself. It's exciting, easier to sell, and you get people better results along the way.
So it's great that you have the fame adjacent coaches and they're getting results. Psychologically, why is that so attractive?
Okay. Think about it like this from the mind of a premium buyer. Okay. So let's say that they're getting coaching from The Rock's personal trainer, who is, one of the coaches he had back in Miami when he was playing football back in the day, right? That is a super cool thing that they can not only get great results for themselves, but then they can kind of brag about it to all their friends. Remember, these are premium buyers who are buying high ticket programs, right? Everybody likes status and they like upgrade and they like to be able to kind of talk about the cool things that they get to do, but especially for people who actually have money, right? And so what we have going on there is better results, and it gives them an identity upgrade and a cool story that they can tell at a cocktail party, right? So you say, hey, I'm coached by Lady Gaga's producer to help write songs or whatever, right? Or I'm coached by not Jeff Bezos, right? Because, getting Jeff Bezos in your program might cost billions of dollars, but you get the former VP of marketing of Amazon Prime. Like, that's very cool and something you can brag about. Hey, I was trained by somebody who was instrumental to the success of Amazon. Like, that's super cool and something that people can actually brag about. And of course, they're gonna buy more as a result of that as well.
That sounds like it builds brand loyalty as well. So
Yeah.
how do I implement all this?
Okay, cool. Let's make this super simple so you can implement. Okay. Create an offer. You want to have 7 dream results and remove 7 nightmare problems for your clients. That's step 1. Attach a specific time frame. In what period of time can you help them achieve this? This will lower their anxiety, okay? Engineer your program, reverse engineer it from that dream outcome. Make sure you're getting exactly the results that you promised for them, okay? Add fame adjacent coaches. This will help you sell a ton more and actually get your clients results. And the downstream effects of this is absolutely massive. You're going to make a bunch more money. You can make more impact in the marketplace, happier clients, more referrals, lower ad costs, higher close rates. Your employees will stay longer. You're putting more good out in the marketplace, and you're making a bunch of money by this whole process.
I hope I remembered all the details.
Dude, I got you, my friend. I will put these slides, all the notes that we talked about for this video, in the description right below this and in the first comment. All right. Enough BSing. Let's go out and make some money. Go create your high ticket offer or scale the one you already have. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.